All right, so this is our bonus session number 2. Appreciate all of you joining. Tonight we're going to be covering screening. And as usual, we'll start with this quote here. So, to learn to succeed, you must first learn to fail. And I know that really holds true for myself, and I'm sure many others on the call tonight. So as we go through this presentation, just take that to heart and let it resonate with you. We're very fortunate tonight to have Matt Mason and Reese King. They bring a lot of experience, and they both started out in the PNBOA, or at least worked in the PNBOA for a while, and they've had a lot of success. So before we kick it over to them, I'd like to introduce both of them. So Matt Mason, he's currently an observer in the PNBOA and a former member from 95 to 2005. 95-96, he won Rookie of the Year. He worked 4 state tournaments and 2 championships. He's been the PNBOA Person of the Year 3 times, in 2002, 2004, and 2005. He was inducted into the PNBOA Hall of Fame in 2017, and he currently works Division I, II, III, NAIA, and community college. He's worked college for 23 years now. I added together all of his conference tournaments, and Macy probably didn't even realize this, but he's worked a total of 45 conference tournaments and 16 conference championships. He's worked multiple national tournaments at the college level, and he's currently married with 2 kids, and he works in Boeing in the business operations section. Mason's been a great mentor of mine over the past, what has it been, 7 years now. So a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. So Matt, thank you for doing this, and thank you for giving your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Next up, we got Reese King. Pretty similar. Reese didn't quite send me his full resume. I got Mace's whole resume, so I just took what I could from that. Reese sent me some bullet points here. So Reese is a current observer as well in the PNBOA. He's a former member. In 2004, 2005, he was the Rookie of the Year. And he currently works Division II, Division III, NAIA, and community college. He worked the NAIA National Championship in 2018 and 19. Worked the Division II West Regionals in 2007. Worked the Division III National Championship in 2019. And he's married with 3 kids. He works in sales at Amazon. Similar story with Reese. Reese has been a great mentor to me. And both Mason and Reese have taught me a lot, both on the floor and off the floor. Just in life, in relationships, work, and refereeing. So again, I'm really excited for tonight, and I'm very happy that they're both willing to do this. So with that being said, I will kick it over to you two. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for having us. It's great to see some familiar names and faces, and some of them in the COVID. Some of you guys need to get COVID over with so you can guys start looking normal like basketball referees again. Some of you don't clean up a lot better than what I'm looking at on the screen. So, but first and foremost, I really want to say thank you, and I hope everyone's families are doing well and staying safe and avoiding this virus. I think it's all affected us in different ways, and it's just really important that we all look out for each other, and hopefully you guys are able to do that. And I think that's what's great about what's been going on with PNBOA and keeping these academy sessions going, is it's a great opportunity just to check in with everybody and make sure everybody's doing well, and it gives us a little bit of what we want to call normalcy as much as we can. So thanks for having Reese and I here. I'm really excited. We're going to walk through a quick little presentation, and then we've got a bunch of clips that we're going to share. I'll apologize in advance. They're not high school clips, but they didn't have cameras when I worked in 2005. So I had to use some of my clips from my college and some of that. So I apologize that you won't see any high school clips. But you might see some people on the video that you know. The great thing about the video is it's all about learning and trying to get better. And so we'll do that. But let's walk through our presentation. Let me try to share my screen. Bear with me here, and we'll see if
Yeah,
this
Mace, while you're
works.
doing that, at the bottom, I sent you that screenshot.
Yeah, I
There
got
should
it.
be an optimize. Perfect.
Yeah, I got it.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, so let me hide this. Hold on, guys. I hate how that bar kind of gets stuck on the top. So let me move this stuff around a little bit. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks good.
Awesome.
I don't have an answer for that.
Hold
Is
on a
there
second.
something else I can help with?
So we're going to talk about screening today. If I go to the next slide, just kind of a quick definition. Screen is a legal action by any player with or without the ball, which without causing contact, delays or prevents an opponent from reaching a desired position. So a legal screen is without contact. So that's key. And this evening kind of rolls along. A couple other important parts. The screener must be in bounds and maintain a normal stance within the inside of the screener's feet, no wider than shoulder width apart. And we'll look at some examples tonight of screeners that have set up wide, have a wide base, and it's creating problems in our game, and we're trying to clean that up. The great thing about the rules tonight is it doesn't matter if it's a high school game or a college game, those rules are still the same regardless. So hopefully you guys will be able to resonate no matter what level of basketball you're working. And then if a player is engaged in illegal screening tactics there and there is no contact with the opponent, no foul has occurred. So again, as a player sets up wide, a screener comes, he avoids contact. Even though the defender or the screener was set up illegally, if there's no contact, there's no foul. So keep that in mind. And we'll go next. Reese will talk about the next one.
Okay. So just some guidelines. A foul shall be called when a defensive player is held or pushed off his intended path around a screen by use of the arms, legs, or body. 2, a defensive player holds or pushes through the screen using his or her arms, legs, or body. 3, the screener extends the hips or buttocks to displace the defender who is attempting to move around the screen. 4, the screener extends the legs beyond legal width and trips a defender who is attempting to move around the screen. 5, the screener sets a blind screen, which means they're outside of the defender's visual field on a stationary defender and doesn't allow that defender a normal step to move or avoid the contact. And then, a screener sets a blind screen, again, outside the visual field on a moving defender and doesn't allow ample time to stop or change directions, which is defined as 1 or 2 strides. So, a little bit dry in terms of the language, but I'm hoping that each of you can picture these, relating to illegal screens you've seen in your game, right? I think you would all recognize the hip. There's a comment around a defensive player. I had a coach that I knew who would tell his players, go and push through the screens until the officials call it. And, so a lot of that is trained, and I'm hoping that you can kind of draw the connection between what these guidelines are in the rule book and what you've actually seen in terms of illegal screening in your games. And I'll send it back to Matt for the next slide.
Yeah, thanks, Reese. And I think just to step up on that, and if there's questions tonight, if you have a question, if you can raise your hand via the Zoom, Reese will monitor those that have questions and we can try to answer them real time, or we can always wait till the end. I think we have some time built in. We do have plays that I think we'll cover just about every one of these scenarios and some of the clips we're going to share later. Hopefully you'll be able to resonate the words into video. But let's talk about really, for us to be really good at refereeing plays in the front court, we really need to make sure we start with proper positioning. So I just want to kind of cover the foundational aspects of it, and keep in mind, if you had a chance for me to evaluate you should resonate with a lot of this verbiage that you see on the screen. The lead sets up, ball side, mirrors the ball, works from close down and avoids refereeing in the middle of the lane. He no rotation on immediate pass, shot, or drive. The center, we'd like to get the center to the free throw line extended if possible. If you have an open look right in front of you, we see a lot of centers tend to leak top, go on top, and get themselves in a stacked position. The good ones really stay home. Even if the lead comes over strong side, that center official stays there, referees that play, and then adjusts accordingly as the play adjusts. And then he's also able to recognize the next play and position adjust to make an open look. So we have a lot of referees that just tend to stand in one spot and get cement and not actually position adjust. So we want to make sure that we're being active as centers, trail, and lead as much as possible. The trail, we start trying to get down to that 28-foot line or inside if possible. We're really trying to get below shooters as much as we can. And as a trail official, if you can be working on the inside shoulder of a offensive player, you're able to referee the defense and be in a really good spot. If we can get you to the right spot to stop plays. We see a lot of trails. I'm guilty as I watch my film. We have a tendency to bail out on jump shots. We need to stay home and help out on rebounding. And then be ready to make sure you referee the next play and position adjust to maintain that open look. So all those are key components and foundational pieces of how we can referee screening. But we got to make sure we get in the right position to start plays. And this is just a little reminder for us to make sure that we keep this in front of us as we start looking at plays and as we go forward. I'll go back to Reese for the next slide.
Okay, so, the first thing is I can't recall a game at any level where I haven't seen a screen in the game, right? Even if it's a zone defense, you'll see teams screen the outside of the zone. So every game it happens. And so and the reality is, when I played, I wasn't good enough to get open on my own, so I needed help. And so a lot of every team's offense is predicated on getting their best players open and also forcing the opponent to make decisions around how they're going to match up. So what you'll recognize is that screens occur, in only a handful of places in a front court set. So I'm going to talk about, how to cover high ball screens above the three-point arc. One term that would get us more of is two referee plays, right? And these are going to occur, either between the center trail lead, for example. And so we're going to show a visual after I go through some of the details. But the trail official, so if the ball is in the trail's primary, we always have to have an official refereeing the basketball. So trail official is responsible for the ball handler and the primary defender on the ball. Secondary responsibility on the legality of the screener. So we have a player that's coming to set a ball screen on the wing. Trail needs to be in position to see all four players. The reality is we get paid the big bucks to get the calls right. There are going to be times where ideally it's a two referee play, but it takes a lot of courage from the center to blow a illegal screen all the way across the floor. And so you may not have help coming. And four, you want to get to a spot, we talk about like the mechanics manual. The bottom line is you need to go somewhere to have an open look. And if you don't have an open look, you need to go somewhere else to try and get an open look versus, maintain a stacked position. So trail official, absolutely critical in how we referee, half court offenses. Okay, the center official. So now we have this screener leaving the center's area. Primary responsibility for the screener, and what's going to happen if a player goes over to set a ball screen? Usually his defender's going to follow him, right? And we've seen plays like now where coaches teach, they call it bumping the screener, right? So I go to set a legal screen, and now my defender or the screener is going to shove the screener into the on-ball defender, and it actually gives appearance that it could be an illegal screen if we don't have it refereed properly. So center, screener and screener's defender, and a secondary responsibility on the ball, right? So we're going to have four sets of eyes looking at potentially, four defenders. And so as I mentioned, you look for holding, pushing by the defender on the screen, assess the legality of the screener, and again, get to where you need to go to referee the play. Lead, primary responsibility, we may still have post action. So, the lead needs to maintain responsibility over any competitive matchups that are in his primary. But sometimes we'll see the two-man game with running the high screen, and the lead doesn't have anything in his primary. So in that case, he or her needs to extend his coverage and go look for a play to referee. The other thing we'll see is a post player go up to set a back screen on a player either with or without the ball. That may actually leave the lead's primary area, but that is a play that the lead can help out with and make sure that they're, watching the legality of that screener. Because it's a lot. Like if you've ever been the trail and all of a sudden a big comes up from the block to set a back screen, you have no clue whether he was legal or not. And that's a play that the lead can help out with. Okay, Matt, if you could go to the next slide, please.
Yes, if I can get it to work. Bear with me. There we go.
Okay, so this is just a visual representation of what I talked about. And this is really helpful, right? Because, again, we end up with 4 players potentially in the trail's primary here. And it's a lot for anyone to referee, 2 different competitive matchups. So the way this, this breaks down is, by priority. So you can see A for the trail, primary matchup is the ball, and then the on-ball defender is B. And then C would be that defender number 5 that's coming to potentially challenge the screener. The center official on the left side of the court is going to start from the back, right? So he's going to get that back defender, right? And then the screener. And so we kind of go in reverse direction of priority. But, if something happens, we have to be ready to have an opinion on any of those plays. Now, like if it's the defender in gray 1 and I'm the center, 1, it would have to be, bad for me to go get, right? So it's really bad. Everyone sees it. I need a whistle. It's going to be with a cadence whistle, right? So I should not be, if the trail has a foul on the play, I should not be beating him to the whistle. It should be a cadence whistle, patient, which tells everyone in the crew that it's not my primary matchup.
Okay. Thank you, Reese. So that's the high ball screens above the 3-point arc. And one thing I just want to add on this is, and maybe you guys have heard me speak this a little bit, as a center and trail, and specifically a center, I have a tendency as a center official, when I have 2 offensive players in the ball above the free throw line, I, as a center, will adjust from my free throw line extended towards the top of that arc to help facilitate and support a potential screening play above the 3-point arc. So you'll see me do that a lot in my games. I try to actually communicate that when I go out and observe, and it just gives us a better look at those plays. So, and we're actually maintaining a 10 and 2 view, so we can see everything in our vision. So adjusting up instead of staying free throw line extended and having to go kind of turn your shoulders, like in this view here, that center official would actually turn his shoulders to go look for that high ball screen, and he loses everything else that's going on. So position adjust up, stay flat to the sideline, maintain big picture view. Okay, next. So let's talk about elbows at screens at the elbow. And again, we'll have a pictogram or Instagram, or whatever they're called that thing now. Pictogram or something. Anyway, so this again is also a dual referee responsibility for the trail center and the lead. So again, lead, make sure you're on ball side. You're looking for the screener and the screener's defender. You're looking for any holding, pushing up by the defender and screener that then assess the legality of the screens. It's not recommended that the lead official officiate plays higher than the free throw line extended, but again, like Reese mentioned, if you have nothing going on in your primary area and you have an open look at something, make sure you have a good whistle cadence and be ready to help the crew out as necessary. The trail official, again, starting at the free throw line at 28-foot line, we're going to referee the primary defender, secondary Secondary defender will be
Just a
secondary
moment.
responsibilities, the legality of the screen. And then again, make sure you're in a position to see
One
all
more
players,
moment.
maintaining that 45-degree angle at the 28-foot line. Big picture, I have all 10 players, both
Stand by,
my
please.
partners and a ball. The center official officiate the action in the post.
I didn't get
If no
that.
post action,
Could you try
assisting
again?
on screen action. If the screen happens on the weak side, then the center is responsible for the screening action. And then if blind screen comes from the post, the center must pick up the screeners to assure the legality. Again, big picture, maintain a view. Make sure you have a view of everything going on. Be ready to help each other out. If I show the next picture,
Just a sec.
you can see, and this one the reason why I don't like this picture as much is it doesn't look like anybody's refereeing the ball if you look at where their eyes are. So in my world, that trail official is focused on offensive player number 2, no competitive matchup at the moment, so he is able to have an opinion of the screening that's going on the strong side. But he
Sorry,
needs to make
I
sure
couldn't
he
hear
has a
what you
reference
said.
point to the basketball. So this picture is a little bit misleading, and I apologize for that. I would actually have view on the ball. The defender, hopefully number 3 is coming over, number 2 is coming over, and then being ready to help out. The center official on this play has a competitive matchup with 5 and 5, but he also has potential matchup with the white number 3 and the number 2 there. So he's got to have a big picture mentality as well. So this is just really describing all the views that you need to have to make sure you have a really good view on how they're setting screens around the elbow area. Okay. All right, back to Reese.
Okay, so just some general guidelines to keep in mind, right? I always discuss 2 referee plays and coverage in the pregame conference. You're going to have people that have a little bit different, philosophy. Some people may not be, in the book as much. So I think that is a conversation that happens for every one of my games. And I talk about exactly this play, the on-ball screen that's in front of the trail. So we want to talk about, what we can do in our game to help be prepared. Because as I mentioned, every game it's coming, right? Center and trail have got to work for open angles. I can tell you the games that I've had that didn't go well, we had the lead making way too many calls and not enough coming from center and trail, right? I think sometimes we get worried about potentially getting beat back on a run out as the trail, so we start to leak out on the rebounding play. Well, I can tell you a couple of things. One, the best teams shoot 40-45% for the game, which means over half the shots they take are going to miss, and there's going to be rebounding action. The number of runouts we have in a game, 1 to 3, right? So just from thinking about the play perspective, you're going to hurt the crew a lot more by not staying engaged to those rebounding plays. So don't be afraid. It's always better to get beat back, and trail that run out play versus consistently bailing on the rebounding action. 3, you want to understand the rules around screening, right? So we went through a lot of the guidelines. What can a screener do? What is legal versus illegal, right? Screener must be set when contact occurs, right? We know that's a foul. What it can also do is it can also, provides you with that foundational knowledge, but, coaches are going to say, what did he do? Coach, he was moving when contact occurred, right? So it can help, provide explanations and guidelines, as we make decisions during the game. I mentioned this before, but there's specific areas where all teams are going to screen, right? It's both wings, both sides of the court on the wing, on the perimeter. We'll see screens at both low blocks and in the top of the key, right? That's the action area. So if you're looking for screens in those areas, you're going to get 90% of all screens that happen in the game. And then lastly, you should notice team tendencies in the best player. The screens are not going to be set for the post player who's shooting 20% from 3, right? They're going to be set for the stud guard that they're trying to get extra shots for, right? Teams also want to force mismatches, right? So if they got a good big guy, they may screen and and see if the defense is going to switch and potentially create a mismatch in the post. So you should be able to look at the teams, and even if you haven't had them, if you've had them before, I think that can help provide some context. But you can kind of start to generate clues which will make informed decisions with how you're going to position, adjust, and cover plays during the rest of the game.
Okay. Thank you, Reese. Any questions?
I have a quick question. Kevin Volchek here. Question on screens. Now, with a team that's going to be inbounding a ball to its offensive player, and now we have a screener right behind him, 2 defenders. How many steps would you say would that offensive player would have before they run into, or the defender player would have before he runs into that screen when he's guarding that offensive player? What do you guys look for? Do you guys look at feet first in terms of the travel maybe? And now the defender, 2 steps before he hits the player on that screen? Because, I hear Reese saying, the coach is going to ask you guys, So that's a scenario that's a bang-bang type of play. How do you guys break it down?
Yeah. I'll try to explain it first, Reese, and then jump in. If you go back to what we talked about in terms of what's considered a foul or what's a legal screen, specifically when it's a blind screen outside the visual field of a moving defender and doesn't allow that defender to have ample time to stop or change direction, it's usually 1 or 2 strides. So again,
1 or 2 strides.
if it's out of his visual confines, he has an opportunity to turn and take a step. Okay, that's the key. If he's butted up right next to the guy on a stationary defender and out of the visual confines, that's illegal as well. No step or required. Does that make sense?
I like it. Because you talked about feet there too. It does. I like it. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, the travel aspect of that's another part of the equation, right? So I think what can help you on those plays is to not get surprised, right? Watch what they're trying to do. Okay, there's a screener setting up behind the defender. Okay, is it outside his visual confines? Yes. Okay, then there's certain he needs to allow him space. But when he catches and turns, if the feet, he has rules with his pivot foot. If those move before contact, then it's a travel, right? But I think what gets us into trouble is when we get surprised by that play and are unprepared for it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Good question. Any other questions before we jump into some clips? All right, we'll come back. Okay, so we've got a bunch of clips. Reese and I are just going to kind of go back and forth. Hopefully you'll be able to see kind of the visual of what we just described. We can slow it down if we need to, and we'll kind of walk you through it. So let me get started. Reese, where would you like to start?
Can we go with number 17 first?
Number 17, yes.
We go to going Jeopardy all the way to the bottom first.
Yeah, so let me share my screen here first. Hold on, kids. This is where I get my skill set here. Share screen. Going here, we're optimizing because Bob told me that's what we do. Can you see my screen with a play on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe Reese, do you want to set up this play, or we can run it first and then kind of walk them through it?
Yeah, well, we have an out of bounds play, and we're going to have screening action to free up a potential 3-point shooter in the corner.
All right, so let me run it. I'll run it real time, but it's going to happen. You guys hopefully can see my mouse. It's going to happen in this area here, okay? I'll run it back again. It's really quick. I'll kind of run it in slow motion. So remember, Reese, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so this is what I call the elevator screen, right? The elevator doors, shut, right? So we have 2 guys that are going to set a screen. The shooter or offensive player they're trying to get the ball is going to actually run in between them. And then as he comes through, we're going to slam the elevator doors on the player. on the defender. So based on the guidelines we put in place, is this a legal screen or illegal screen?
Illegal.
Looked illegal to me.
Illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On our foul chart thing that we talked about earlier, the screener extends hips or buttocks to displace the defender who is attempting to move around the screen. So in this example, to Reese's point, you can see this gentleman on the inside give a little bit of a hip check, right? And he hip checks the defender as he's running through there, and he gets dislodged. So sometimes this is called the elevator screen as well, or the scissor screen, whatever, where you pull two things together. But we see this play a lot. It usually happens right around the free throw line. And I don't know if we get to a clip or not. I have a clip in here that'll show great help from the lead being able to pick up plays like that, where he's looking right through and he sees the whole action of the defender's offensive players setting the illegal screen. Okay, any questions on this? If not, we'll move on to the next.
I would just add one point here. So I agree, it's an illegal screen. From a court positioning standpoint, I think the lead and trail are good. The center official does not have a competitive matchup, right? So his heels are actually on the sideline. I would challenge him to be more engaged with the play and take at least a step onto the court here, because again, he has no competitive matchup in his primary, and he could potentially help with that play.
And you see, we have no whistle on this play, and I think, to Reese's point, if that center is engaged and has courage,
I don't have an answer.
He can referee that play and be more engaged with it and stay connected with that guy going through that screen. And he would actually see the doors closing on that guy as he's trying to squeeze through there. So again, center official, stay engaged on plays like this would be very helpful.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Could I add something over there?
Yes, please. You can add whatever you like.
If you look at the lead eyes, where right when the ball was inbounds, the lead eyes go to the corner, to the pass, where that is not his primary area. The primary area on that inbound pass where the ball was received is the trail. So he went with the pass instead of continuing to referee the screeners, where that is his responsibility, his primary responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It looks like his head even stays out there, and he's got a competitive matchup in the post. So,
exactly. Even on the pass, he went with the pass instead of staying in where that is primary.
Yeah, I think sometimes this can be a tough play for the lead. I think the center, again, when you think about depth of players moving laterally, I don't think we have the best look on those plays from those. I think the center in this play has the best look, because he sees that movement, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. But
Just a sec.
I appreciate what you're saying on that, Manny, because you're right. He does follow the ball out and doesn't stay with the screeners. Good point.
Yeah, another thing about these elevator screens is, unless the defender is way far behind, they're almost always illegal. So, if we can identify that they like to run elevator screens, we're gonna have fouls.
Yeah. True. Second half, right? So he's probably ran before. I mean, it's not the first time they've seen this play, probably. It's probably something they run, to Reese's point about who your shooters are. That kid's probably a pretty good shooter. So we got to know where they're going to try to free him up. So where is he out on the floor? To your point, we got to be ready for those plays. Good point, Stacy. Okay. Good discussion. Let's go to the next one. I am going to show a dribble handoff play. This is another play that's creeped into our game quite a bit, and it's something that we got to get better at, because I don't think we're good at it. But I think we're looking for these plays. So let me run this one. Can you see my screen? It's a game at BYU. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to run it. And keep in mind, look at where we're at in the game. This is the first play, our first potential whistle in the game. So I'll run it. I'll run it one more time. Okay, so again, set the tone early. This is a dribble handoff play where the guard goes and dribbles to his offensive teammate and doesn't establish himself on the floor. He's still moving, and then he clips the defender. And the center official does a really good job, even though he knows the lead's in transition because the lead's coming over. He does a really good job maintaining an open look and seeing this play start, develop, and finish. And then that defender gets dislodged, and it creates an opportunity for the offensive player. This play happens all the time. And sometimes we're not ready for it to happen because we're so focused on the offensive player that we're not refereeing what we use the term the next play forward. This is a next play forward scenario. We see that dribbler dribbling to the sideline. We got to open ourselves up as the center official to be able to referee this scenario that's coming his way. And it's that dribble handoff that's gonna hurt the game. And sure enough, that's what happens. And he takes that guy and he clips him out. So the center official, again, does a really good job on this play of staying with that play all the way through. Any questions on plays like this? Because we have a lot of them. I mean, these happen all the time. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, before you move
yes.
on,
Yes,
Benson,
I'll go back.
thanks a lot for doing
Hey,
this.
buddy. Congratulations on the marriage, by the way. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
cool.
that. What do you look for the action of the offensive player that's handing the ball off and the defender that's coming over as far as where that contact happens? So I guess I'm asking, like, if the offensive player is ducking down underneath that and the defender makes no attempt to go through it and just runs into him, I realize that offensive player is still illegal, but are you less likely to give the defender the benefit of the doubt on that play?
No, I'm going to penalize the screener most of the time. Again, he's not setting the rules, right? He's not established position on the floor. He's still moving on the handoff, and the defender has no chance to get around the screen. He's moving into the defender. So to me, it doesn't matter about the contact per se. It's more about, being able to watch the offensive screener or offensive player take the defender out. Doesn't even give him a chance.
Right.
So he has to establish himself on the floor, and he doesn't do that in that scenario that I just showed.
Right. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Well, a little bit. I think what I'm trying to figure out is what I've seen happen sometimes is that offensive player is not actually trying to set the rub. He does that. There's more space. He does that handoff, and he ducks down instead. And the defender sees an opportunity to just run into him and get that back.
Yeah, we might have some not on that specific one, Benton, to your point, but I think we do have a couple of clips, maybe if we can get to them tonight, that will show exactly what you're describing.
Okay.
We have a lot of time where that big guy will come set the pick, and then he'll roll, and the defender will actually try to go over the top or underneath, and then the big guy will clip him out one way or the other. So we'll see some of those plays too. But on that specific play, 99.9% of the time, that's a foul on the offense.
Okay. Great.
He's taking that defender out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Another thing to note too is, like, illegal screens are usually caused by the ball handler, right? So, like, if someone's coming to set a ball screen on me and I have the basketball, I'm taught to come off the screener's shoulder. And so a lot of times what happens is, like, I'm lazy. I don't come off the shoulder of the screener. So now the screener's going to stick his hip out to try and get there. So you can kind of catch clues like that in how fundamental the teams are, right? Because you'll have teams that are well coached and handle the fundamentals, and then you have some that frankly it's just not as well coached, and so you're going to have to be ready for page 10 of the casebook to happen.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, I have a question.
Sure.
On that elevator screen, the first one that you just prior one.
Yeah.
So there's some contact, but do you sometimes let some contact, incidental or whatnot, happen, or do you try to catch it as much as you can like that and call it? I mean, because I could imagine there could be a number of these like that one there wasn't a whistle, but I could imagine there could be a number of these that happen during the course of the game, and you might not call everything, but maybe you try to.
Yeah, great point. I think, again, not knowing time and context of the game, right? So they're in the second half of that specific game. They probably have seen that play before, I guarantee it. And maybe they made a decision collectively that they weren't going to call it all night, right? And so that could be a scenario where they don't put a whistle on it. In my world, if I see that play early, I'm going to try to get to those kids early, a little preventive refereeing, and saying, hey, you guys got to get set if you're going to run that play all night. Otherwise, they're going to get penalized. So, it's not a for sure always kind of thing. It's what's the feel of the game. The guy gets through that. Yeah, he does the offense get a huge advantage? No. So could you live without a whistle? Potentially. And they chose to live without one there. But if that defender gets clipped and that offensive guy is able to get a shot off, then what are you going to do when you tell the coach that my guy, how are you going to explain it to the coach then? Hey, my guy got clipped. You guys chose not to call it. Now that guy hits a three-pointer to win the game. So you're going to have to live on the edge a little bit. I don't encourage you to do that on that play. Stick to the guidelines, explain the rules to the coach if he asks,
Also, I think, being fair and balanced, if it's certain things, you have to be fair both ways. But
yeah, that's true. That's true. Good question. Any other comments on those types of plays? All right, Reese, what do you got next?
Let's go with number 7.
Number 7. All right, let's do the old Zoom. Share. Confirming you can see my screen.
Yep.
All right, let me run it.
And you want to cut Junior Longus, great job, and then the nice dump off
and a moving screen.
It looked pretty grainy to me, Matt. I don't know if you can run it again.
Yeah, what's it look like for you guys? Are you guys able to see it?
Looks good, Matt.
Yeah. Okay.
So 32 setting the screen up top, Reese.
Yep. Okay. So again, what you'll see here is I think this is the scenario we talked about, right? So we have a on-ball screen being sent by a post player. The defender goes low to try and get around the screen, and now I'm going to roll into that defender who's fighting to stay connected to the ball. And so that is a foul, right? So even though he may be rolling, right, he is now moving that defender off his spot, and that's an illegal play. And you'll get guys that are sneaky about this, and hey, I was just rolling to the basket, right? There's teams that coach this.
All right,
and it's borderline. So you got to be.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Anyone have questions on that?
Hey, Reese, so that whistle looked like it came before the roll. So I don't know if there's a call there other than, now it's pretty distorted.
Yeah, I think it was on the screener.
It didn't look like the screener was rolling at all to me. I mean, he hadn't turned his back to get toward the basket or anything. So I actually didn't see the foul on that play, but that's just me.
Okay. Yeah, it looks to me like he.
Hold on one second. I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Yeah, so a couple things to think about as Matt gets his computer fixed here. If I am moving toward an occupied space, right, so I mean there's a player there, even though I'm not going to set a screen on him, I still have the rules of screening apply to me, right? So if I move and contact him, right, and move him off his spot, then, I can't do that. Now, if I'm moving to an open spot, I'm considered a cutter, right? And then obviously things are different. So that's been a helpful way for me to conceptualize how to differentiate those plays.
So are you saying on this play, Reese, that the big was the offensive player was trying to take the other guy off his spot?
Yeah, so in my opinion, 32 black sets the screen and then goes to roll to the hoop. And as he does so, the on-ball defender is attempting to get, to stay engaged with the ball handler. And he creates contact, which, puts the on-ball defender at a disadvantage.
Okay. Yeah, it looked to me like the on-ball defender was trying to go under the screen. And
you guys hear me?
In trying to go under the screen, the screener winds up making contact with the on-ball defender as he's trying to go under it. And I think in that case, the onus is on the screener to not make contact with that on-ball defender that's trying to get around him.
Yeah.
So it's not a true roll, but I think he's like, okay, I set my screen, I got to get to the basket however I can. So it's not your typical screener roll.
Hi guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Do you want me to bring
problem.
that play back up? You guys must have had a great conversation without me. I couldn't have ruined it anyway.
Yeah, no, we carried on. I think we're good to go to the next clip if you're ready.
All right. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Let's go. Let's see here. Let's talk about two referee plays. Let me go here and share. You guys can see this play.
Yep.
Okay, we've got an imbalance pass. I'll just run it. Okay. So this, in my opinion, this is an illegal screen by the offensive player, and the center official in this play that happens to me does not do a very good job of refereeing this play. Now, remember, there's going to be a lot going on for the trail official on this play. He's going to have to, he has a shooter, an offensive shooter that's going to go up with a jump shot. An offensive defensive guy's going to come up and set a screen, and I'm just kind of hanging out over here with nothing going on. And I got to be better at it. So let me run it again. All right. If you look at his setup, if you look at the screener's setup, is that normal? Is that in the width of his body?
Oh, he's too wide.
Too wide.
He's wide, right?
Oh, outside his shoulder width.
Yeah, and then you look, as he's trying to go underneath him, the defender, the offensive screener, the contact occurs on the outside leg of the screener, which gives us the false view that the screener is getting blown up. In reality, the screener is illegal. And I don't do a very good job of moving. I do come up a little bit, but I can be better, quicker, because I have someone step right in front of me. I could be better on this play and have the courage to come get this play. This is an illegal screen, in my opinion, which frees up a jump shooter that we wipe the basket off, by the way, which by rule, when does the foul occur, blah, blah, blah. So reality is this: illegal screen, white 24, set up outside the framework of his body, contact occurs in the leg area of the screener. The defender has no chance to defend on this play. And that's it's a bad no call on my part. I think this play needs to go the other way, in my opinion. Any comments? Remember my rule about moving up? Yeah.
I was going to say, if you do come get that, what is your communication process if there is a double whistle there?
I'm going to come up and go, I'm going to have an illegal screen first. I don't know how, I'm going to come up and say illegal first, something like that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Matt, what did your partner have on that play?
He's calling a push through on the screen on the defender.
Okay.
This is a big play. This is late in the game. This is Whitworth UPS. Tough play.
but I think it's incorrect when I look at it. I think we get it back. I think we get it backwards. And it's not the trail's fault. I got to be better on this play. This is my play. The trail's probably getting the back end of this play. And we need to be better on this play.
So if he contacts him in the chest, are you going to have a different opinion about the call?
Yeah, Stacy, they've changed the rules a little bit at the college level, where if he's wide illegally, but he takes the contact in the chest, then it can be a foul on the defender trying to run through the screen.
Right, which is what I was trying to get to here. So if he does run through his chest, then that's a different scenario.
There could be a different scenario, and this call would then be correct probably by the trail.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I like that change in the college rule. I hope it trickles down.
I don't know what you guys are doing at the high school level, but I caution when I say that because I know we've got high school guys on here, and gals. So okay.
Hey Matt, we had a question from Corky in the chat. So he says,
okay.
So with feet outside the framework as the screen is being set, are you then ready for contact with a ready whistle?
Well, I'm not going to anticipate, but I'm going to be ready for it. Yeah, so I'm going to be refereeing that play. When I see that setup wide like that, I'm going to be ready for something. Would not anticipating the whistle. I need to see we use the terminology start, develop, finish, and then decision. I need to see all four components of that before I make a decision. But now he's got my attention because of his setup or her setup. That's the key to that. So good question, Corky. We got about 4 minutes. Yes, sir.
3 of these 4 plays that you've shown, I've seen that the center has been involved, and twice the center needed to come out and be a little stronger or have more courage. Definitely something I'm working on, but I think that's a good takeaway from a few of these clips as well, is center courage.
Yeah. Reese talked about it earlier when we were going through the slides too, about that, having the courage to referee. But you got to be really good. I mean, you got to be 110% sure you saw everything to make sure your whistle fits.
I think we get in the standpoint too of defining our primaries based on what it says in the mechanics book. And that's throw that out. Those are guidelines. You need to referee matchups. And so based on where the players go and where the matchups are on the court, that's what we should be refereeing. And so there are times where you see the center, just because there's no one in my L or whatever the mechanics book says doesn't mean we take the play off, right? You could see the center on that elevator screen can help and go get that call that would then be, correct for the crew in the game. So it doesn't matter about where it happens on the floor. We want to get in the mentality of refereeing matchups.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've got about 3 minutes left. We could do this all night. We've had plenty of clips to go through. A lot of them my shitty plays. Any final questions, comments? Anything?
Just one question, Kevin Volchik here. I know you guys have ref some high level basketball, the Metro League too as well. High schools is high level. Have you ever felt like any of these has been maybe one step overboard of maybe being dangerous in terms of someone maybe setting the screen to maybe even going through the screen?
Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, so a tough matchup, O'Day versus Beach, they have history. I haven't really thought about this until now because we went after screen after screen after screen, but, tough matchup, these guys have a couple words with each other. The next possession down, maybe, you see a more of a bold screen. Do you ever upgrade the screens to technicals? What about when someone's going through a screen?
No, because they're live ball, right? So they wouldn't be technical fouls, right? The thing I would think about, I would say one, is you've got a lot of veterans on this call. And you can never walk into a rivalry game and not be. You got to be ready for anything, right? And you know who those are. You just mentioned O'Day Beach, right? Garfield Franklin, right? Whoever that is, those teams know each other. They've been playing against each other. You cannot, not that you ever want to take a night off, but you have to know that there's like potential history between the players. And that doesn't change anything I do on the court, right? I want to talk to the players so they know I'm there, right? But what we can't do is if we've got a hard foul and we got players on the court, we can't just turn and walk away because that's when it's going to blow up, you know? And, you know, I can tell you that I've learned the hard way, you know, because I've had plays blow up on me, right? I had a long time ago, I had a fight happen in a game. I hope if you haven't had one, I would say you never want to have one happen in a game you're working. It's no fun, right?
Yeah,
but just go ahead. I would just say from a coverage perspective, you don't do anything different. You just know that there could be some additional dynamics going on.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add on that, Reese, and you're spot on, is it's a feel of the game, and it doesn't matter if it's Garfield, Franklin, or Lady of the Peace versus Lakeside. I mean, you need to feel what's going on from the tip, and you need to be ready and not be surprised by anything. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, then you need to ratchet it up, and you need to get with your crew and make sure you're all connected on what's happening on the floor. I learned this term from Kenny McDougal called, uses the word smell of the game. Are you smelling the game? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the anxiety? What are you doing? Is your anxiety going up? Are you staying calm? You're feeling it. You understand what's going on. You're reading the players. You got the coaches, everything. You got to be good from the tip. 32 minutes of concentration. And if you're not good at that, then you're not going to survive. And you won't be ready for that one time that it happens in front of you. And it'll come out of nowhere and you won't know where it came from. So you got to be good from the beginning. All right.
Hey, Mason, Reese, if anyone needs to drop off, feel free. But if you guys want to share a couple more, feel free to do so.
Yeah,
if you have time.
I can do a little bit more. Yeah, I've got a few more time in me.
Awesome. Thank you.
My family doesn't need to eat tonight.
Ace has 2 or 3 plays on that computer.
I got a few. Reese, you got one you want to do, or I can pull up another one?
Number 11.
Night, do they?
What was that, Bob?
So your family don't eat any night, do they?
Yeah. Well,
they want me to leave more now. They're like, what happened to leaving for the games, right? We kind of like that.
I know, right? Oh, shit. There's a Holloway sighting. Holy cow. I got to be on our best behavior now. All right. Let's try this one. Okay, they'll run this first. Run it one more
So
time.
we have,
it's going to happen down here.
Yeah, the bottom of the screen, the player's going to come up from the block and try and set a screen on the on-ball defender. So a couple things to think about on this one, right? So we talked about, is he inside or outside the visual confines? And so again, the screen is going to come from behind him. So I'd say outside, right? Can't see him. So not only does he not give him a chance to avoid contact, he's moving when the screen is set and then leans and sticks his hip into the defender. So he can get 3 fouls on this play. And again, it's a good job by the lead because we have a player in the lead's primary leaving up to the perimeter to set an on-ball screen.
One thing I like about I didn't really notice this the first time. I actually like, as much as I don't like the lead or the trail being as high as he is, one thing he does do is there's not a competitive matchup here. So you can actually see his head. He's trying to get, if you go back to the, that elbow screen diagram that I showed earlier, he is trying to get an opinion on this play because he's got really nothing out. He's feeling this, no competitive matchup, but he sees and he's feeling this back screen. Thankfully, the lead's picking it up. But the trail, I think, does a decent job of feeling what's going on this play and open himself up to be able to referee it. You can see his head kind of shift down there, right? So he does a really nice job in that space to try to help if he needs to on that play. Okay, I got a good one. Reese, I want to show the central screen in transition. I think you're the trail on this play coming up the court with Davis.
I think this was on my list. You can't show my plays.
Well, then you got to bring it up.
You know what number it is?
Yeah, I got it right here. Number 15.
Yep.
All right, this is a play that happens in our game all the time, and we are not very good at picking these plays up. This happens almost all the time. All right, so I'm just going to run it. You guys can decide. You guys catch it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Yes. Back court.
Okay, so everything's good, right? He's legal.
Time and
the turn. Time and distance is not an issue. It's
You
just
can
a
tell
really ugly play.
he's a big man too.
Yeah.
His teammates better call out that screen.
Yeah. Here's what I don't like about it. I like Reese's positioning. What I don't like is the center's positioning. He is not engaged in this play in transition, and he needs to feel this the big guy coming to set this screen, and then Reese has to be really good as a trail to be able to pick it up at the same time. This is a tough play in transition because it's happening quick. I mean, you guys see how fast it goes. It is ugly. So we got to be better in transition as the center official to help the crew out on plays like this. Now, again, I think this is all good. The defender, the screener has a chance to firm up. So he's setting his screen, his feet are down. He can protect himself, which he does. You get a little worried when he's crouched like a catcher, right? And he kind of straightens himself up and firms him up a little bit prior to contact. This is a legal play. It's just a really ugly play. And it happens all the time in our games. And by the way, it's a 1-point game at this time too, by the way. So a really tough play. But I think it's worthwhile to talk about as a crew is how we're going to pick up transition plays and then what's the center needs to be able to help out on plays. Look at the center. He's kind of like surprised that it happened. He's kind of like looking back, right? He's not sure what happened there. He needs to be better engaged on this play. Comments? Sorry, Reese, I took your play.
I guess the one thing that's really nice about it, Mace, if I can jump in, is the fact that our trail. CJ, hold on 1 second, kiddo. Sorry. The trail doesn't try and guess on it. Don't know how much information Reese might have completely, but he's not willing to risk being wrong because he doesn't have all the information.
Yeah. Gary D asked the question, is it a foul on the defender? I don't have a foul on this play. I think the offensive screener does everything he can. The defender just has no idea that it's coming, and shame on his teammates for not telling him. So that unfortunately is a basketball play.
Now, if he runs them over and they both go down, absolutely. But to me, putting a foul on that's kind of adding insult to injury. The guy just got his neck realigned, right? Legally, I think Leslie said the teammate didn't call out the screen. That's what you're taught to do. And I actually remember this play happened. The coach was yelling at the guy that was defending the screener and was yelling at him for not calling out the screen.
Yeah.
Hey, so that defender's probably hurt right there. Are you stopping the game right then, or is letting that guard who's now got an open drive to the basket take it?
So you have to assess the situation. In my opinion, unless it's like call the ambulance now and get it out here, I'm going to let the play continue until it settles, right? So the instant, like if Red takes the ball and then it's going to run a play, I'm going to stop it. If they're going to the rim, I'm going to wait and at least see what happens before I stop the game.
Another thing that I like about this play is that if you look at Reese, the way he's officiating this play is that he's actually, like the book said, he's trailing the play, and he can actually have a better view of that big guy setting the screen instead of being way ahead of the play where he might have being taken by surprise and not know what happened.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point, Manny. The trail does a really nice job of staying connected to the play and not getting ahead of it, like we all tend to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And then we have to turn back and wonder what the hell happened.
Yep.
So Reese does a nice job on this, of staying with the play and just being able to process everything really quickly. It's just flat out ugly.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt,
And he's
Dave
looking.
Gunning.
Yeah, he's looking right in front of him instead of to the side, where that player might have come as a surprise to him.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave. What do you got?
Where would you want the C to be?
Well, I just would rather have him open his body up a little bit more. You know, I think shoulders more open to the floor to have an opinion. He doesn't have an opinion. He actually has to look back. Look at him right there.
So should he be stopping at half court or somewhere right in there, helping at this point?
He could.
Okay.
I mean, you got to feel the play, right, Dave? And we're coming up in transition. You got to feel it right away. Right now, he's not feeling it. And I get why he wants to get down in the front court, but again, what's going on? Is he maintaining 10 and 2? If we use that terminology, does he have 10 and 2 right now?
No.
He doesn't, right?
All right.
So he's putting a lot of pressure on the trail. Reese can referee this play, but a lot of pressure on the trail. And not everybody has the skill set that Reese has. But this play goes sideways pretty quickly on somebody else.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, it doesn't even look like the home coach saw the play. It looks like he's going the other direction.
Yeah.
That won't stop him from yelling at me, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Reese.
That won't stop him from yelling at me. He never sees plays, and he yells at us anyway.
I know. I know who that is.
He's got 4 assistants waiting to jump on Reese's ass right now, so they'll be on his ass in a moment. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Good comment, Scotty. Let's see here. I want to find another good one. Here's a good one I like. I like this play. Whoops.
Hey, Mace, there was one thing I wanted to add on that was we're a 1-point game, 6 minutes left. Probably not the first time we had a backcourt screen.
Yeah.
You know, having an awareness of that play when you're the center, knowing that we still have assistance in the backcourt for them to bring the ball up, we might have had a better idea.
Yeah, true. Very true. Okay, this is a play where we talk about where the lead might have to referee and extend his coverage. So this is going to be a screen. It's going to be a screener by this guy, and this guy's going to pop out and shoot a 3, and this guy's going to laterally move right to left, and clip the defender. And the center does a really good job coming to get it. Now, I'm the center on this play. I don't have the lateral movement that the lead sees. And then the contact. So let me run this for you. You can see how he creates space. Everything's legal, but then he decides he wants to move. Are you guys seeing that? And the best person to see that play is the lead. It's the only thing he can see in the gym. Again, second half, best shooter on the team is number 3 that's about ready to shoot this thing, and the lead has a great view on this play to pick it up. You know, the trail's going to look feet. I have lateral movement as the center official. I don't have any idea if he goes sideways laterally or not, and the lead does a really good job coming off from the end line and picking this play up. That's where you got to be really good. You can't guess on this play, and I think the lead official does a really nice job of picking that play up.
And he doesn't have a competitive matchup, so you got to go find something.
Yep. This is Montana State, so you can imagine the rivalry. So this is a great pickup late in the game. Well, about 18 minutes in, I guess we're in the second half, roughly. Okay, Reese, you got any others?
Why don't we go with number 9?
Yeah, that's a good one too. All right. Everybody can see it. I'll run it. Happens quick. Another one of those dribble handoffs. Reese.
Yeah, so again, like, you know, is he like trying to set a screen on this defender? No, you could argue no, but he's moving, handing the ball off, and initiates contact. So by rule, it's an illegal screen. So I think someone said earlier too, like the key with that is we can't like trail the basketball. We can't just, you know, the ball goes, so we just turn and watch away. We have to see the whole play and pick up what happens at the tail end.
Great thing about it is the center official stays connected on this play. He has the primary, he's primary on this play right now. And he follows it all the way through and does a really nice job staying with it. Except for getting his hand up to stop the clock, which I'll call him and remind him about that. But he does a really nice job on this play. Huge advantage. Again, that's that same shooter we just saw in the last clip. Their best shooter, one of the best in the conference. He gets freed up for a jump shot by the illegal screen. That's where the Wyoming coach is losing his mind because he knows exactly what's going on there. So
yeah, you know, and that's like these coaches watch a boatload of film, and when they know like teams like are going to try and free him up and we miss an illegal screen, they get really mad at us because it's like they're looking for that play, and so he gets a reaction, and then it's like it brings, you know, there's a whistle, you know, emotions come down, and that's where you can start getting trust from a coach in a difficult game.
Yeah. All right, we'll do one more blow up.
There was a question in the chat on that one, Mace.
Yeah.
Corky says, would extending the elbow farther after making his feet and hip wider be a flagrant foul?
On that, go ahead, Reese.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, it's hard to talk like hypotheticals without seeing the reaction of the play. A couple things I think about when I'm talking about flagrant is like the terms excessive and unnecessary. And I don't think that play rose to that level. To me, it just looks like a sloppy handoff, right? So, you know, if I feel like it's excessive contact or unnecessary, that's when I start thinking about, you know, elevating it to a flagrant.
Yeah, let me run this play, Corky. This might be a play that kind of gives you some more in-depth. I think this play could be borderline elbow. So we're going to watch it. We're going to have a dribble. The defender or the offensive guy is going to come down and set a screen in the paint right here. He's going to give him what we call a little chicken wing into the guy's chest. Watch. See that?
Yeah.
Kind of comes down. He's going to look for the set of screen. 22 white. Tries to kind of throws his shoulder in. They could, to your point, Corky, in your question, they could go look at the monitor on this play, and they could deem this to be a flagrant 1 foul, depending on the severity of the elbow to the guy's chest, in their opinion. So again, Lee does a really good job. He's coming over strong side. The ball's coming below the free down on the sideline. He's coming over. He still maintains what's going on in the paint. He sees the screener coming down, and then he has a really good view on this, where the guy's trying to set a screen and he's throwing his shoulder into the defender. And that very well could lead to a potential F1 if they deemed it to be